Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna get started on SQL databases. So without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that you will need is to start up the jump control panel. Here you want to start Apache and MySQL because we're going to need these in order to run our SQL database. So up into your browser, you want to go to localhost and then type in phpMyAdmin. Okay, and here you can see how this interface looks. So first things first, we're going to go to user accounts. And for you, all of these will have no password. So you want to put a password, so you go to each user and you go to edit privileges and then go to change password and you put in a password because you generally want a password to your databases. You don't want your information to be able to be accessed from anywhere. Okay, now once we're back, you can see that we can't connect anymore now that we changed the password for the user. So in order to fix that, we're going to have to change the password that we log into because this logs in automatically when you go to this link. So onto your C drive, open up the jump folder, and in here go to phpMyAdmin. And then here right-click config.inc and edit it. And in this file, here you can see password. You're going to put the password in. For now, it's admin. With this done, we're going to go and click on retry. And you can see we're now into this interface. So this is the interface that you're going to manage your databases from. Now, to demonstrate better how one of these databases work, I'm going to open up Excel. Okay? And what we're going to do is go into a blank workbook. And here, I'm going to just explain how a database works. Just the basics of it. So imagine your database like being a big folder. Now, I'm not talking about a folder on your computer. I'm talking on a physical folder where you put actual pieces of paper. So your database is this big folder. And each piece of paper, each sheet, has a table like this. Okay, and your folder, your database, can have multiple tables, multiple sheets of paper. And each one has rows and columns. Now, each table must have a primary key. Now, I'm going to mark this in bold so you can see it better. And each primary key has to be unique. So to explain better what this unique key means, I'm going to make more columns, name and password. Okay, so let's imagine that this table is going to be our users table. Now for the password, we're going to use encryption and stuff, but the basic concept is this. You're going to have this column, which is going to be our primary key, and each table must have one and only primary key, and it must be unique. So we're going to have each set of data consists of multiple keys. The number of columns is actually the number of keys your input data must give. So we're going to have here John and a password of 123. Now this is going to be, of course, encrypted. Okay, and the thing is that each set of new data, make this incremented because we said it's unique, and in here we're gonna, this does not have to be unique because now if you want, you can make it unique manually, but in our case it's not going to be unique for now. Okay, and each set of data will have a name. Let's say here we're going to have Mark, and this does not have to be unique, so we can just copy and paste this. And each password, again, doesn't have to be unique, but it has to match each entry. Okay, So let's say these are our passwords and this is the table. Now, the thing is that each data set consists of one row. So you insert multiple keys. One key is this, or this, or this. And a data set is basically the whole row. Now, you're not having to necessarily complete all the fields. Now, in this case, you have to, but you're in a database, you don't have to do it. You can set which ones to be mandatory and which ones don't have to be mandatory. So you have here your ID, your name, and your password. And of course, you can add more columns, more keys. And the way a database works is that you have multiple tables like this. This is a table, not a database. A database consists of multiple tables. And each table is independent of each other. It just makes that it is in the same database. So here in our interface, we're going to create a new database by clicking New, and we're going to give it a name. We're going to make this my project. Okay, and we're going to create a database. And now you can see we can create a table because our database currently has no tables. So we're going to make a users table. And it's going to have 3 columns. And we're going to go. Okay, so each column is going to be here. I'm going to call this one ID. And it's going to hold an integer. An integer is basically a number that doesn't have decimals. Then this is the default value. We're not going to put anything in it. Attributes, you don't have to put. Index. Now here it's very important that one of the keys is set primary. Okay? And this AI thing, it stands for auto increment. So our first ID is going to be 0, then the next one is going to be 1 every time we insert a new key. Now you can add more comments and everything to it, but for now we're going to keep it down to the basics. The next column we're going to call name, and this is going to hold a string. And this you just use a type of varchar. And the length has to be in characters, so we're going to put 250. No default. Index. Let's assume that you want unique usernames. So let's say that this is going to be our username, and this is going to be unique. Now, when you insert data into the database and you want to throw errors and stuff, when you validate the form, the sign-up form, you generally don't want to rely on these properties. These are going to be just the backup. So when you just insert into our database in PHP, we're going to take a look at that maybe in the next episode, is you don't want to just rely on these indexes. You want to just make an algorithm that, of course, it's a very basic algorithm. You just go and select all the entries that have the input username, and you store them in an array. If that array has a length greater than 0, throw out an error. Else, just insert our username. You don't want to rely just on these unique parameters. Next, we're going to just put a password. It's going to retain just the hash, so we're going to put it like that, and we're going to just store a string up to 500 characters in length. And it does not have to have any indexes and anything. So let's save this table, and you can see our table structure. Okay, so we're gonna go back to our browse. Okay, and you can see here, this is my project database. And in here you can see our tables. So currently you have just one table. So if we open up the table, you can see we have 3 keys, 3 columns in here. And of course, this is just an interface, but you can do this with queries. This is a query. So select is going to get all the entries here, all, so this is all, from the table users. Now, the query must be run inside a database, and then you can select all. Okay, so let's try to run a query. So select all, select from users, select all from users, where, now you don't have to run these in capitalized letters, but it is recommended, where ID equals to 1. Now, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's go insert into users. I don't remember actually all these queries, but I think that was the correct syntax. Insert into users, columns ID, username, pass hash, values, and then once you do that, it's values, so you put values, and inside we're going to put the values. So you know what, let's not use this. Let's not use the ID. We're going to insert into these two so you can see the auto increment of the ID. Values, John, 1 to 3. Now let's assume this is hash, and then just run it. Okay, check the manual that corresponds, writes and gets near users. Okay, insert into users, then we put the columns. Oh, the table name without commas. Okay, one row inserted. Okay, and if we go into our users table, you can see we have ID 1, John 1 to 3. Okay, let's run another one. Insert into users. Let me zoom into this so you can see better. Users into the username. Now we're not going to go into PHP yet. We're just going to exercise some queries into SQL. So we're going to go pass hash and values, and then you want to put some values. We're going to go mark and pass. Okay, and go. One row inserted. We go to users, and here we have Mark and John. Okay, now to select some, so we're going to go to SQL, is select all columns. So this will select all the columns, all the rows from the row, all the columns from the row, the username, the pass hash, and the ID, all from users. Wait, you know what? Select all from users. Go. Showing rows 0 and 1, 2 total, and it's gonna display both. But if you go to SQL and select all from users where where let's do username equals to John. Okay? And if you go, it's going to display just John. You know? So it goes and selects just the rows that have the username equal to John. Okay, let's run another one. A little bit more complex. So select ID from users where pass hash equals 123 and username equals to John. Okay, and go. And it selected and showed us just the ID because that's what we told it to do. So if you look at the query, we told it to select just the ID. You know, when we told it to select all with a star, it showed us all the keys. Okay, now if I go back to SQL and select username ID from users where ID equals to 1 or username equals to Mark. And it should show us the username and the ID of both John and Mark. And as you can see, it did it, and it did it in the order we told it in the query. So if we told it select username ID, if we told it ID username, it would show us ID username, no matter from the order of the keys into the table. Back into SQL, let's assume we want to also order them alphabetically. So, okay, select pass hash from users where now it can return nothing. It can return blank if no rows actually get these conditions met. So where, you know what, without where, just like that, order by username descendant. So this should put Mark first, okay, and it should select just the pass hash. So if we look, it showed us pass and then 1, 2, 3. Now if we look into the table, you can see that pass is Mark's and 1, 2, 3 is John's. And it showed us pass first because we told it to order it by the username descendant. So that's why it showed us Mark first. Okay, now you can combine everything. So let's say, you know what? Firstly, we're gonna insert. Now, PHPMyAdmin has an interface to insert, as you can see here, big. But we're gonna just exercise our queries to use them in PHP. So insert into users into ID username pass hash values, and now we're gonna get it interesting. We're gonna put 4, not 4, 5, and then this guy is gonna be called Valtteri with a password of 456 and go. One row inserted, and if we go to the users, you can see we also have Valtteri. And what I'm gonna do now is go to SQL here and go select all from users where ID is not greater than 4, order by pass hash descendant or ascendant. Okay, and go. And now once the query has run, you can see it selected us all the columns because we told it to from the users table where the ID is not greater than 4 and order it by the pass hash ascendant. And you can see that. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 is first, and then comes Mark. Okay, and you can play with these queries. Now, we're going to explore more queries on the go as we implement our app into PHP and in other languages as well. But these are the basic queries that you can use. Now, there is joining tables and creating a view and deleting from our table. Let's actually do deleting from a table. Okay, so let's go to SQL and we go delete from users where username equals to Mark. Okay, and go. Do you really want to execute? Yep. One row affected, and go back here, and you can see that we have just John and Valtteri. Now, one thing to note, if I'm gonna manually insert one more now, insert into users, username pass hash, values, and then I'm gonna put just, I don't know, Packard, and with a pass hash of controller. Okay, and if I run this, you can see it's inserted or a row, but I want you to look at the ID. It just looks on the latest ID, which is 5 in this case, and it inserts 6. Now, if I'm going to do the following thing, so I'm going to go ahead and delete from users where ID equals to 6. A very simple query. If I go to the users, you can see now that Packard is gone. Now, if I'm going to insert again, without specifying the ID, insert username pass hash values, and we're going to insert Toby, and with a pass hash of QWERTY. Okay, now what I wanted to take a look at is his ID. Now it's 7. It's gonna just look at the latest ID, inserted the greatest, and it's just going to insert after that, no matter if you deleted it. So this is basically how things work. And now, of course, you have an interface for this. So let me go back to the original size. You have an interface, you can delete stuff, you can copy, edit, everything, and even insert in this interface. But I recommend you to just experiment a bit with these queries and play around with them in PHPMadmin, because in the next episode, we're going to actually use them to submit our data from our form and actually check for duplicates and stuff, because as I told you, I don't want to rely on that backside. And also, let's do one more thing. So let's go to SQL. Now you can see we have John already, okay? And we set John to unique. So insert into users. Okay, username, pass hash, values, John, 1 to 3, go. SQL said duplicate entry John for key username. So you can see it throws it an error if you put a duplicate, but if you put John, not capital J, duplicate entry still. So it's not case sensitive, but if I put, I don't know, no, I think we already used Valtteri. Let's use Emily. Okay, and if we insert this, one row inserted, and if I go here, you can see, yeah, of course, Valtteri was already taken. You can see that no matter if the pass hash repeats, because that's not set to unique, it's going to insert it. But if we put a duplicate into the username, which we set to unique, it's going to throw out an error. So I think this is enough for this episode. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, click that subscribe button. So see you next time on HowToIT.